Good evening, beautiful souls. Tonight we're exploring a question that stirs up a lot of feelings. Are online witches less authentic? Let's take a calm, honest look at what authentic even means in witchcraft, how digital spaces shape practice, and where the real risks and real gifts of online magic live. When people say authentic, they usually mean lineage or training, results, ethics, and even community accountability. None of those are exclusive to a living room circle under candlelight. Scholars who study religion and the internet point out that faith and spiritual practice now move fluidly between online and offline. What Heidi Campbell calls networked religion, with traits like networked community, shifting authority, convergent practice, and multi-site reality. In other words, for many practitioners, the altar is both on the kitchen table and on the screen. That doesn't automatically make the practice better or worse. It makes it distributed. During the pandemic, many covens and circles moved rituals to Zoom or adapted with small quarantine pod groups. Some paused. Others discovered that trance work and guided meditation and astral journeying can translate surprisingly well online, while hands-on elements like shared meals or drumming, circles, or initiatory rites often lost something in the move. Those experiences didn't prove online witchcraft was fake. They proved that some aspects of our craft are deeply embodied, while others are already spirit-forward and travel easily through cameras and microphones. To understand why accusations of inauthentic stick to digital witches, we have to look at authority. Online authority shifts. A tradition's high priestess doesn't automatically outrank a creator with 1 million followers, and a brilliant herbalist in a remote town can suddenly teach the world. Research on digital religion and influencer culture shows how visual presence, storytelling, and perceived authenticity shape whom people trust. That's not unique to witchcraft. It's internet-wide. The opportunity is democratized. Voices often excluded can finally be heard. The danger is that charisma can outrun competence. Numbers help us zoom out. Pew Research finds that technology is now part of ordinary religious life for many people. A sizable share of adults stream services. They join online prayer groups and they use apps for devotion or learning. While in-person gatherings remain more popular overall, the digital layer is not fringe anymore. It's normal. That broader reality means witchcraft and paganism paths grow inside the same media landscape as everyone else. Let's open the grimoire on the benefits first. Why is this a good thing? Well, accessibility is a major one. If you're disabled or rural or closeted, maybe a caregiver with limited time, or simply far from like-minded folks, online circles can be a lifeline. For many, digital practice is the only safe doorway out of the broom closet. Private discords and encrypted chats become the coven they needed but couldn't safely join in person. The internet also preserves and shares knowledge. Scanned out-of-print books and lectures and carefully sourced blog archives keep wisdom circulating rather than gathering dust on a single bookshelf. And when it comes to representation, creators from marginalized communities can foreground their voices and correct myths in real time. There are also drawbacks, and those are pretty clear. Misinformation is the first one. Misinformation travels at lightning speed, and witchcraft is not immune to viral nonsense. Think about the hexing the moon rumor that tore through Witch Talk in 2020. An episode covered by mainstream outlets not because it reflected core pagan practice, but because it was sensational and algorithm-friendly. Many experienced practitioners publicly debunked it, but the internet rewarded the spectacle more than the correction. That pattern is real across many topics. Algorithms boost novelty, conflict, and certainty. 3 things good magic rarely is. Commercialization adds another knot to untangle. Studies of witch talk and spiritual influencer culture show a booming market. There are kits and oils and moon water bottles and crystal subscriptions and aesthetic micro videos that package the craft as lifestyle. Commerce isn't inherently bad. Witches have always paid the herbalist and supported the artisan. But when performance eclipses practice, the signal-to-noise ratio drops. The red flag isn't in the selling. It's selling instead of teaching, or selling while discouraging deeper study and discernment. Gatekeeping lives online too, and the arguments can get fierce. Traditional initiatory lines like Gardnerian Wicca maintain that initiations into their traditions cannot be self-bestowed. You're brought in by initiates. That's about the identity of those traditions, not a verdict on whether a solitary or eclectic witch is real. Confusing those categories creates unnecessary wars and strife. Respecting each lane, traditional, coven-based, solitary, folk, reconstructionist, devotional, chaos, all of that lets us talk about standards without erasing valid paths. So sometimes online it can be really easy to talk about 2 things simultaneously, and we really shouldn't. You shouldn't confuse an initiatory tradition with a solitary tradition, and you shouldn't treat them the same, even online. Things have their traditions for a reason, and that needs to be respected, even online. Now, cultural respect is another load-bearing beam of authenticity. Online spaces kind of blur boundaries pretty quick, and closed or cultural specific practices like some forms of hoodoo or indigenous ceremonies are too often lifted out of context by creators chasing trends. Many practitioners on social platforms now do the crucial work of naming appropriation and pointing newcomers towards respectful alternatives. A digitally authentic witch owns their learning edges, credits sources, and honors the keepers of living traditions. So how do we evaluate realness, though, especially when the temple is also a timeline? Here's your practical rubric you can quietly apply as you watch, read, and engage across platforms. First, look at sources and scaffolding. Authentic teachers cite both books and elders. They differentiate between their personal opinion and their personal practice from shared lore. They link out and they correct themselves in public when they learn. I've done that a few times now. That behavior matches what scholars call convergent practice and storied identity, weaving experience with tradition and telling how we came to know what we know. How you learned what you know shouldn't be a secret. Okay, now, yes, maybe you don't want to share names and dates, but you should be able to talk about it in the abstract. Second, check for outcomes and accountability. Are students empowered to verify results? Are workings framed with consent, ethics, and mundane follow-through? Does the creator invite questions and name risks and suggest ways to adapt a ritual for your body, culture, or constraints? In healthy online communities, authority is shifting, not absolute. Leaders earn trust by showing their work, not by claiming crowns. And nobody really should care how many times you've been initiated. It's not that important. Third, note how that creator handles controversy. When presented with bad information or a viral rumor, do they slow down, investigate, and respond proportionally? Or do they ride the wave for clout? It's one thing to deny the rumor. All of us have had rumors on occasion. It's one thing to say that didn't happen. You shut it down and you move on. That's another to take advantage of that rumor for clout. If it didn't happen, just say so and move on. So the moon hex, for example, became a case study in why calm, evidence-based correction matters more than dunking for views. So just correct something and move on with your day. Don't search for clicks. I know it's satisfying. It also hurts your credibility. Now, fourth, Pay attention to cultural care. If a practice has gatekeepers, does the teacher acknowledge that? If a path is closed, do they step back and point you to voices within that tradition? Authenticity is as much about what we refuse to take as it is about what we share. Fifth, consider embodiment and context. Some rites should remain in person. I won't deny that. Many initiations and ordeals and oath-bound transmissions are not meant for public streams. Knowing the difference is part of wisdom. But remember, meditation circles and devotional chanting and study covens, ancestor veneration, planetary magic planning, and even more can thrive online with integrity. The key is clarity about what translates and what does not. Not everything is fit for the screen. If you're practicing primarily online, there are a few ways you can deepen your craft. First, build a series of reading lists and keep notes. Pair classic texts with contemporary critical voices. Track results. Magic is learnable, and your journals will become your teacher. Next, find communities that value learning over drama. Avoid witch wars, it's not worth it. Seek moderators who enforce consent and anti-harassment rules, and look for hosts who welcome citations and respectful debate. It's okay for everyone to worship differently. Find a space that allows for that. Next, you want to mind the algorithms. Remember that what you see is shaped by engagement, not accuracy. Curate your feeds on purpose. Follow creators who will publish bibliographies or share their sources with you if you ask. Follow those who will collaborate across traditions, not put down someone from a different tradition. And make sure you're following people who disclose sponsorships clearly. I don't take sponsorships, ever, under any circumstances. If people do take sponsorships, they need to tell you. They need to tell you, this is who sponsored this video, and this is why. That way you can at least make an informed decision regarding that information that's being imparted. Okay, it's important. I'm not saying sponsorships are bad. I'm saying you need to disclose them. So follow creators who do disclose them. You also want to honor boundaries, yours and others. Don't film another person's altar or rites without permission. That's why I don't do a lot of filming of ritual, because I do have people who come who are not comfortable on camera. Don't pressure closeted witches to go public, for example. Protect minors. If you have minors in your circle, do not film them. Use privacy tools. If you're teaching, state disclaimers and safety considerations and cultural contexts. And support your teachers. Pay for classes when you can. Tip, buy the book. Credit the source. Ethical exchange keeps real instruction sustainable and pushes back against shallow trend cycles. So, don't be afraid to part with a buck, but do it cautiously, because there's some people who are trying to take advantage of you. Finally, remember that authenticity isn't a costume or a camera angle. It's a study, a practice. It's about humility, ethics, and results over time. Online witches are not authentic because they're online. They're as authentic as their integrity, their accountability to community, their respect for cultures and traditions, and their willingness to keep learning. The screen is a tool. The craft is in your hands and in your heart. It's not anywhere else. We use the screen to talk to each other, but it's not the heart of our spirituality. That's here. Thank you for joining us here at Aislin's Enchanted Path. What have you found helpful or harmful about practicing or learning witchcraft online? Share your experience below so others can learn from it. Blessed be.